o'clock. You've got it on KHUM as we continue our one-on-one candidate interviews. Today, we're talking with 5th District Supervisor candidates. We talked with the incumbent Ryan Sundberg an hour ago, and right now, via telephone, we've got his challenger, Sharon Latour. Good morning.
Good morning, Cliff. As we get started, I want to congratulate you again on the launch of Radio Free Humboldt, all the hard work that you as the faculty advisor put into that.
My other hat.
Well, I think that's fantastic. And also my continued deep condolences as the faculty and students and community continue to work through conversations about the spring preview tragedy of just a couple of weeks ago now.
Yes, that was quite tragic. Did rock the entire campus. For those who are not aware, I also teach at Humboldt State University in the journalism department. So, Sharon, thank you for joining us today. So you're running for
pleasure.
You're running for 5th District Supervisor. Ryan Sundberg is the current incumbent. Why do you want to take that position?
Well, I think fundamentally it's an issue of perspective, and I think what I'm able to bring is 20 more years of experience, not just military with some very challenging projects successfully done, but my whole career of in athletic administration earlier and so on, where I have come to appreciate at my age that we are not people about checklisting and moving on away from things, but that life is really a journey and that the conversations don't end. So it's about the respectful conversations that I'm hoping to perpetuate around some very sensitive things. In fact, as we know, the more sensitive something is, the less likely it is we really want to engage, which indicates how very important it is. So for me, it's about talking about the rivers, that the Klamath Basin Reclamation Act is not going far enough in ensuring the downriver health is there, that the salmon will be healthy enough. It's a good first baby step, I imagine, in making sure that we can move forward on dam removal, but it's clearly not enough. That conversation is so far from over simply with an agreement signature. So we have a lot more to talk about on the Klamath and on the Trinity and on the Mad River. So much more to talk about as it impacts so many things about our way of life and the health of our wildlife.
Mm-hmm. Well,
for example.
Yes, I want to talk a little bit more about some of your top priorities. But first, let's get a little background on who Sharon Latour is.
Okay, well, I was really, really lucky to grow up in Santa Barbara when it was still a quiet place of avocado and lemon orchards on a quiet corner street where I could go down the street and enjoy playing in a creek, and very sensitive to water from my earliest days because Lake Cachuma, as Ruth Lake, it was our sole source of drinking water. And when the lake was full, we were content, and when it was low, we paid attention and acted accordingly with length of showers and so on. So I grew up very environmentally sensitive. The 69 oil spill was a real galvanizing event for all of us. And so I was there until about 30, working at UC Santa Barbara in athletics, women's athletics in the early 80s, and then joined the Air Force for 20 years. What I'd hoped to do, and I eventually was able to do after my first assignment to England, was teach at the Air Force Academy in the Behavioral Science Department. I was the course director for social psychology and one of the instructors in the leadership block for the juniors there. So 5.5 years with the cadets, and then back out to a fighter base at Aviano Air Base, Italy. I got to work some issues for housing for our enlisted folks that was completely overlooked, and got to work a resolution for them with local hoteliers because it was the summer season, and we were able to take care of all of those maintainers coming in the summer. So different projects like that, and then a tour at the Pentagon, which was more focused on my work with followership and mentoring and leadership principles there, and then finished my career at Maxwell Air Force Base teaching a cross-section of majors, their 10-month master's degree granting leadership course.
And when did you come to Humboldt County?
I came after 2 years in seminary at San Francisco Theological Seminary in San Anselmo. I came up to Garberville in 2007 and was a volunteer pastor there for the sake of the young people in particular and our vulnerable homeless. And 4.5 years in Garberville, and then moved up to McKinleyville and was asked by the Arcata Presbyterian Church to be their transitional pastor. That's the pastor that serves between permanent pastors. So I'm finishing up my time there in the next few months with them. It's been about not quite 2 years together. Very satisfying time with them.
Okay. Now, from what you've talked about thus far, it sounds like environmental issues are one of your top priorities.
Absolutely right. Yes, I don't think the environment needs to continue to pay a price for what we want to do as Americans who are ambitious and have business ambitions and enjoy our lands. That we can work in concert. It just takes a little more thought and preparation. How we are managing our subculture marijuana growing has had environmental impacts that are finally being covered well by the media. And here we come back, Cliff, to the importance of conversation. So when we have a chance to fully converse about how the growers see the use of their property, how other residents see their neighborhoods, we have a chance to put neighbor back in neighborhoods in places like Willow Creek that are quite divided right now. And I think the conversation is so very, very important. Medicinal marijuana can be a very viable part of our economy going into the future, along with the amazing other things we do here, the technology, the innovative entrepreneurship in Humboldt is just amazing. And Humboldt Made is beginning to have their consortium publicized so that we really do have a much broader media representation. What does Humboldt really mean? It's going to be broader than ever. But I don't think we need to run right past the yet unfinished conversations around what do we do with the opportunity with medicinal marijuana. What is the cost to do widespread growing beyond the medicinal focus? And I really think that is a conversation that if we don't do it, we are going to regret when it comes time to try to enforce. I think we're going to regret the fact that we did not have the respectful, calm, pre-planned conversations.
Do you feel it's time that marijuana be legalized?
Do you mean recreationally or across the board?
I guess across the board. I guess the question would be, how would you see that? How would you, if you were to see it legalized, how would you like it to go?
Well, that is the $64 bazillion question. I mean, it really is a stratospheric level question. What we're beginning to see, unfortunately, is in Denver, the black market continues to perpetuate. Not thinking through the unintended consequences of legalization is costing greatly the social goodwill and safety of folks. So fortunately for us, so tragically for Colorado, they are experiencing going first with this. So again, we aren't ready. We culturally are not ready for the unintended consequences to our young people whose brains aren't completely developed, to what it means to driving impaired. And we joke about that so far. We'll simply be driving slower. Well, not necessarily. Reaction time is not so terrific when it's slowed down too much for some people. So we don't know what legalizing this, basically, as we're looking at it, medicine, uncontrolled, what that can do from individual to individual in combination with it. So I don't believe we are ready to follow Colorado in broadly legalizing marijuana for recreational purposes. We have just not got enough infrastructure and conversation and community understanding. The stakeholders have not all come to the table because it's not legal. We're not supposed to talk about it. And my thought is it's time to have that uncomfortable conversation and work it through and take the necessary slow steps to making sense for the sake of the safety of our community and our future together.
Okay,
So medicinal marijuana is one thing, but the recreational use is a very different thing, I think, Cliff.
Okay, time is rapidly expiring, so I want to get to some issues here. You talked a little bit about your priority of environmental issues. Very quickly, what are some of your other top priorities if you are elected supervisor?
Well, I'm excited about, I think you can tell, I'm very excited about the entrepreneurial spirit we have in our county. And I love the fact that we have College of the Redwoods. We've got Humboldt State University with an amazing research element. The biofuels work being done at Blue Lake Casino with Humboldt State is such a thrill. There are so many avenues, so many things that we are not publicizing. So as supervisor, I would love to be an ambassador outside our county, within and outside our county, for Humboldt-made products, technology and physical products that are going on here that go on and on. Prosperity 2012 is a beautiful document that helps us appreciate how much more beyond the reputation of we used to do timber, we do marijuana. There's so much more to Humboldt County. And I believe supervisors have the opportunity to be ambassadors on behalf of our amazing county for tourism, business, access to the external. I'm already talking to folks about short sea shipping, other avenues besides superhighway ideas. And I understand that we're very close to yet another airline carrier coming into our airport. So I just think being excited about who we are and how we do our family-grown businesses is well worth supervisors' attention, and it's very good news. We have a lot of good news in this county.
Okay. Now, as I've mentioned with all supervisorial candidates thus far, I am a well-known trail advocate, so I have to ask you, what are you going to do to help make a regional trail system happen here in Humboldt County?
Well, now you're singing more good songs. I was very, very happy to be in the chambers when the supervisors unilaterally were sounding different in the recent few weeks about supporting a countywide trail system. And I've been speaking with some folks here in McKinleyville about improving the current portions of trails that are not quite user-friendly and making modifications to those, and safety enhancements along the Hammond Trail for residents who live right up against the Hammond Trail along the ocean cliffs. So I'm having wonderful conversations around enhancing even the McKinleyville Trail that will be part of all of that, and one contiguous trail. So I'm all about, as developers develop, that there's consideration for open spaces, trail consideration, biking, walking, and access as much as possible, even for our differently abled folks. A lot of our folks are pushing babies in strollers. So what can we do to accommodate portions of trails for these people to enjoy what we have here?
Very good.
I am all about being very excited about a shift in being supportive about trails for the supervisors. I was very happy to hear that shift in perspective.
What would you say is the primary difference between you and your opponent?
Our age difference, and I have 20 more years of adult, challenging, decision-making, calculated risk-taking. It really is our age difference, and which also gives me that, what we began with, Cliff, the thing where I was happiest when I was getting through a checklist when I was younger. In my 30s, I really thought my job was to get through the to-do list. I think many people in their 30s and early 40s, in the midst of trying to discern where they fit in the scheme of things and what their contribution is going to be, it's about getting things done. And the older I get, the more I realize I get lots and lots and lots done, Cliff, but the respectful part of being humans journeying together is you always leave the door open for further conversation. It takes time, but it's not an inconvenience. It's not an irritation. It's the truth and the reality of being human beings. And so I learned that last week in a couple of days being up in our hills in Orleans, and having a chance to slow down and witness a people who live with nature. And it was really a wonderful thing to go to sleep hearing the Klamath at night and being reminded of the fact that we are on a human journey, not a human to-do list, checklist.
So we're pretty much out of time, but briefly, I want to know who is endorsing your campaign.
Well, we haven't made that a huge banner waving thing because I did come in so late, and so. But I'm so very pleased that both the Young Democrats and the Democrats have endorsed me, and the Central Labor Party of Del Norte and Humboldt County have endorsed me, and the home health care workers have endorsed us. So these are the folks that we talked to in the last few weeks, and it's a process to have folks meet and then choose, and there are some other really wonderful endorsements in the works. But those are the key right now, Cliff.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, we are out of time, but Sharon, I want to thank you for taking the time to talk with us this morning.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you so much for creating the opportunity for us to speak to your listeners.
Absolutely. And tomorrow the conversation will continue.